Welcome into SportsbookReview.com. I'm Gary.
I'm Chris.
And this is the College Football Show off-season, Week 11. Again, to preface, there isn't really an off-season. This is FCS Week 8 that we're heading into. So we got live action football, but this sport never ends. I know that we got the Final Four, the National Championship. I know that we got all these different things going on. Doesn't matter. Opening day for baseball. Doesn't matter. There's still college football news happening. There's still things to discuss. And we're going to be here every single week for the entire year. I mean, from now through the season and even past the season, we're just going to keep doing this thing. So hopefully you will be along for the ride. Let's go ahead and tell you what you need to know about us. All right, first off, I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris. We've done this already.
I'm starting off. I'm kind of reworking. By the way, this is going to be an off show. Just a little weird, okay? You're fully vaccinated, right?
Sure.
I was fully vaccinated at the end of last week. Did it hammer you like the next day?
Didn't affect me at all.
Whooped me to no end.
Nope.
I'm telling you, and it was only for one day. It was the day after. I mean, I was destroyed. So
didn't know that I got in the shot.
Really?
No bruising, no soreness in the arm.
Oh man, my arm was
none of that.
so
you
sore.
could convince me that this is a placebo, and I got nothing. They just pumped some saline in my arm.
Mine hurt so bad.
You really could convince me of that because
That's crazy.
Both shots didn't feel a thing.
That is crazy to me.
Didn't feel anything and zero side effects at all.
If you got your
and
shot,
I'm not a tough guy, by the way. You know me.
Oh, I know.
I'm as far from a tough guy as there. Like
I really thought that you would have had kind of the same reaction that I did.
No, and I know a lot of people that did. I did. There's a little bit of conspiracy in me to think that there's somebody out there just pumping like every eighth car with saline.
I wouldn't doubt it. If you have gotten your shots for the COVID vaccine, jump in the comments. We want to hear from you. Did you actually end up with any kind of side effects or anything? Or do you feel like Chris and maybe it was a placebo? Maybe there was nothing there. Who knows? Either way, jump in the comments. We would love to hear from you. Go ahead and like this video. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. And head over to sbrpicks.com/NCAAF. That is your one-stop shop for the college football gambling content that you so crave. And I'm telling you, we have a fantastic team here at Sportsbook Review. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. I feel like we know a little bit of what we're doing, and a lot of what we know that we're doing is based on what they do. So continue on to the website. Again, share the show out, like the video, subscribe, etc., etc. Let's dive into the stuff that you want to discuss, and that is college football news. First things first, NCAA versus Alston. The Supreme Court hearing was last week, and they grilled the NCAA on amateurism. For those that don't know exactly what this is, basically the federal government is going to determine whether or not college athletes should be paid for the most part. That is about the most rounded way of saying it, the most basic way. There's a lot of other things at stake, whether the schools would need to pay, the name, image, likeness stuff. All these different things will go into this ruling that we won't get until really the end of June, maybe early July. What were your thoughts on everything that came out from last week?
I thought once again the NCAA they showed their incompetence. So I think I criticized Mark Emmert for saying nothing.
Yes.
Okay, for always hiding in the closet and hiding under a desk and not being present and not actually having an opinion or a voice for anything, not making any decisions. But he might be going under the philosophy that my old papa used to teach me, which is it's better to be, keep your mouth shut and be thought a fool than to open your mouth and prove all doubt. Like I believe he's a fool. But right now, every time the NCAA actually tries to do something, they prove everybody they are incompetent. Like it's one thing to just think they're incompetent, but I felt seeing their attorneys highly compensated, very well qualified attorneys, all sounding like they have no clue what they're doing.
It is really difficult.
They're being asked pretty basic questions from a group of people that are not sports fans,
right?
That don't know how this stuff actually works.
When you are asked to argue a point that doesn't make sense, there's no way that you can explain it
without sounding like you're trying
dumb.
to shovel somebody like a case of bullshit.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that's what it is, and there's no other way to explain it, right? So all of these different things, the Alston character in this, Sean Alston, was a running back at West Virginia. He was a former athlete at West Virginia, played football. It's one of many different cases that popped up after the Ed O'Bannon stuff that basically lost us the NCAA football game from EA Sports.
Correct.
Now, that's coming back and everything else, but now we're trying to figure out different ways to pay the players and whatnot. And I don't believe that we are going to get to a point where the schools are required to pay the players, because that would require fundamentally just tearing down the entire system. And I don't know that the Supreme Court is going to be willing to do that, because it would go against, one, past precedent, but two, it's a whole different, because the NCAA has a ton of lobbyists and everything, and I know that it's the Supreme Court and whatnot, but there's a lot at stake here. There's Title IX that needs to be figured out with this. There's a ton of different things, because a lot of the athletes on campus, if you're going to pay football players, you're going to have to pay everybody. And I know that there's ways around it.
That's just not true.
Go ahead with your thought there.
I mean, but that's
I know that we've talked about this.
That's just not true. You don't have to pay everybody.
According to another Supreme Court case that ruled in favor of Title IX, they would, because they are athletes on campus, and therefore football players are viewed the same as women's softball players are viewed the same.
They're viewed the same. But the housing for the women's swim team ain't the same as the housing for the men's basketball team.
Agreed. But if you're talking about something as big as paying an athlete, they have approved stipends for players. But even those stipends for football players and whatnot have also seeped into the swim team.
That's fine, but they're not the same.
Agreed. I don't know how they're going to do it. My thought process on this is they are going to rule that amateur athletes should be able to profit from their name, image, likeness.
I agree with that.
And that there will be no limit on it.
Yeah.
That it is up to them, and whatever they can get, that's what they should get. And I believe that that's the direction that it's going to go. So we won't need a bill from Congress. We won't need any of that kind of stuff. I believe that the Supreme Court is going to rule that the players are allowed to profit however they need to or however they can from their own name, image, likeness, and that they will be able to be, what's the word I'm looking for, represented by a group, or they'll be able to form a group, not so much to form a union, like an employees union, but
I think they can. I think they'll be able to, by the way.
Well, for things such as the NCAA football game, et cetera, et cetera. I think
they'll be able to form a union for anything, Gary.
You might be right.
I don't think there'll be a way for them to say, we're going to allow you to unionize to all collect this payment for something that wants to license everything under college football, but you can't unionize if you want to hold a strike for health insurance or, this or that or another.
Yeah, you might be right about that.
You can't let them collectively bargain one thing and then not let them collectively bargain anything they choose.
That's true.
So, but I disagree with that. I like the idea of it. My thing, which is this won't hurt the schools, this won't hurt any of the athletic budgets whatsoever, and it will actually help all of these smaller deals. Agents are going to swoop in like vultures.
Oh, yes.
And they're going to take 10% of all these guys' money, which is fine because they're going to help them get more money than they could ever get without the agent. Okay?
Right.
And they're going to make sure there's language in there to protect the students, right?
Correct.
So I do think the agents serve a purpose. Here's what I would actually like to see. I would like to see all the agencies go, and this is hard because I don't think these schools do things well. But for the betterment of the school, I wish the agency went through the schools. And the reason being is because if I use this on our show on Winning Cures to talk about this analogy of if Trevor Lawrence, if Geico wants to pay Trevor Lawrence $5 million to be their sponsor, his, this past season or whatever, and he takes that money and some agency is going to take 10% of it, that's fine. If the school took 10% and that 10% goes into a fund and that fund helps pay for all the non-revenue sports, that's great.
Yeah.
That's bonus. If you're a player that doesn't get an NIL bill, your stipend check is coming from the basically the slush fund pool that these kids are going for, which means they're worried about donors advertising directly to a kid and not to the school. Well, the school still gets a piece of that, even if they want specifically to go to this kid.
Kind of, basically what you're saying is the school kind of acts as the agent.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I need the schools to hire real professional agents to do that, to be salaried, and not let some extra,
just a lackey, a grad assistant.
Grad assistant or something of that nature handle it, and the paperwork gets screwed up, and this kid get locked into a bad contract.
Agreed.
or whatever, or end up hawking something that's pretty. Now, here's the problem with letting the school be the agent is if somebody comes along that they don't like. Let's say Pornhub, for instance, says I would like to sponsor Trevor Lawrence. Maybe the Clemson wouldn't like that. But if it's Trevor Lawrence, be able to do whatever the hell Trevor Lawrence wants to do, hey, I'm going to take that money. And I'll wear whatever T-shirt you want me to wear.
Yeah.
And I'll hawk anything you want in my free time.
I will say this. The kid won't be able to wear licensed gear from the school. So if you want them to be as recognizable as possible,
they'll be able to do it around campus. And they'll be able to do it on their own social media. Right.
But what I'm saying is for like a national ad campaign or something along those lines. But if it's just a social media thing, that's not going to be a ton of money anyway. No, it depends on the player. It depends on whoever. Like Trevor Lawrence, absolutely.
I think you're insane if you don't think it's going to be a ton of money.
I don't think that Trevor Lawrence would have made $5 million only for a social media campaign.
No, but he could have done many other things. He could have done commercials.
But that's what I'm saying is that you're not going to be able to put a Clemson shirt on him.
No,
or whatever.
But I don't think they want the Clemson shirt. Everybody in the country knows who Trevor Lawrence. I use him because he's the most recognizable player.
Right. So
you line up all the great college players of this past year because of his look. Everybody immediately knows who that guy is.
Right. But how many of those are there in this sport every year?
Not a lot.
Not that many, right? So we're talking about getting all of these kids paid. A lot of them are only recognizable if you associate the team with them, right? So there's ways, there's a lot that's going to go into this, which is why it's so confusing, which is why it's whatever, but it absolutely has to happen. And I think that the Supreme Court is going to make sure that it does.
Because we think of only football, we think of only basketball, and maybe some schools that have a lot of money invested in baseball, but we're not thinking of women's basketball. I guarantee you, UConn women's would have those girls will generate more money through NIL than any men's football player at UConn at all.
Well,
not even close. Yeah. Okay, Stanford swim team. Do you know how much money Katie Ledecky lost or turned down to swim at Stanford for 3 years? Like if Stanford could have got a piece of that and Katie could have gotten paid during that, it would have been unreal.
Yes, it would have been.
We got a Summer Olympics coming up. We're going to learn some new swim stars that we didn't know their names.
Yeah.
And when we know their name, we're going to see what school they all go to. And those schools are instantly going to have access to a lot of money and that player. So it's not just non-revenue sports. If you're elite at any sport, it's going to make you a lot of money. And if you do it just through the player, the schools won't benefit at all.
Yeah.
They're still going to have to fundraise the same way they're always had to, and the non-revenue sports are still going to struggle to find funding. But if you somehow say,
if you find a balance,
10% of every contract or 5% of every contract signed has to go back to the school. That's fine too. Even if the school doesn't run it, it's just you're basically, you don't pay taxes on this 10, but it's going to the school. I'm okay with that because I do want the schools to survive. I do want these non-revenue program situations to survive. And that fixes your Title IX program problems.
Yep.
It fixes there will be no phone tree to raise money for scholarships for women's sports anymore. There just won't be.
Now you might have a point there.
And you kind of only need one or two big cash cows on campus to sell.
And then you'll be able to make it work. Now, we're talking about national campaigns. There's also, of course, the local campaigns.
When your local campaigns, you don't even need a star.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 25 guys on Ole Miss's football team that could get local deals in Oxford and make hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I mean, there's more than likely, I'd say 75 to 100 athletes at Ole Miss that would be able to make something.
I think in the six figures a year.
Probably.
I do.
It depends.
I do.
I don't know that there's that many big businesses, but we'll see. I mean,
but
obviously,
you're looking Oxford City.
Yeah.
The whole state of Mississippi is going to go to Mississippi and Ole Miss and Mississippi State.
Okay.
There's a lot of businesses, and then all of those are surrounded by some bigger city around. Memphis is going. There's Ole Miss fans in Memphis that are going to shell out the kind of money. It's 45 minutes down the road. I can get that kid up here for a weekend to do a photo shoot and a commercial.
That's a valid point.
I just think there's enough money to go. Even in the small schools, there's enough money to go around. I really do.
I can jive with that. Okay. Let's move on from there, and let's talk about Vanderbilt.
This is a place that if NIL goes through, Vanderbilt really could be a big-time player.
Nashville, Tennessee, obviously one of the most booming metropolitan areas in the country. They are spending $300 million to upgrade their athletic facilities. And while that may not seem like a big deal to a lot of people, it's a massive deal to those in the Southeastern Conference, in the Southeast, in this area overall. And here's why. Northwestern did this a decade ago.
I don't even know if it was that long ago. That new facility that they have.
I think they started raising the money.
I'm sure. Oh, easily. Because it takes a long time.
It takes a long time to build.
Kind of money.
In the last however many years, Northwestern upgraded their football facilities. It is right out there on one of the Great Lakes.
It's not just their football facilities. Their athletic facilities, they're some of the best in the world.
It's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Stanford did this a couple of decades ago.
Yeah.
Really upgraded their facilities.
These smart kid schools are, and we're seeing Stanford women's just won a national title last night.
Oh, yeah.
Their football team has been a top 10 team
recently.
A couple of times over the last decade.
Yes, absolutely. So let me go ahead and give you the details on this. Vanderbilt, of course, the proverbial punching bag of the Southeastern Conference, mainly because of its poor athletic facilities, and basically that had to do with the fact that the school favored academics over athletics.
Sure.
Now, nobody's ever really slighted them for it, but it is something to kind of laugh about when they have to play against Florida and Georgia and Tennessee and whatever. And what makes it funny is that they are on the same level as Tennessee right now. But either way, Vanderbilt Chancellor Daniel Diermeyer, make sure I say that right, and Athletic Director Candace Lee heard the criticisms. Now the university is doing something about it with the creation of the Vandy United Fund. It's a $300 million fundraising campaign geared toward building and upgrading Vanderbilt's athletic facilities. Quote from Diermeyer: "Student athletes and fans needed the university to act. People needed to see that we mean it. It's important that we as a university are committed to this. We are going to make it happen." Candace Lee came back and said, "Sometimes we feel like at Vanderbilt we're limping along. It's important that we think of ourselves as who we are, a charter member of the SEC in the best city in the country. We've got to act like it." And I think that's very important.
Yep.
I mean, it's if you're going to be an SEC football school, if you're going to be an SEC basketball team, if you're going to be involved in the Southeastern Conference, you need to put forth some kind of an effort.
Yep.
You can't just shell along and expect people to just go along with it, right? The Vandy United Fund marks the university's largest ever investment in athletics. Vanderbilt has had 3 minor facility upgrade projects in the last 10 years, a $30 million multi-purpose field house in 2012, a $12 million Hawkins Field training facility in 2017, and a $5 million basketball practice facility last year. So Jerry Stackhouse got himself a new building. But when you look at what Texas Tech has done and what Texas is doing and what, just across the board, what schools are doing for basketball facilities, et cetera, a $5 million basketball practice facility is nothing.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money to us. That is nothing for a major basketball program. Vanderbilt officials have already secured $200 million of the $300 million goal, with a $100 million investment from the university, $90 million in donations from multiple donors, and a $10 million donation from Ingram Industries chairman and Nashville SC owner John Ingram. Pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Pretty big deal. They are finally trying to get into the big leagues. I think it's a smart move.
And for football, it will take a while. Basketball can happen quickly.
Oh, very quickly. Jerry Stackhouse is a widely known name. He is a good coach.
If the NIL comes in, there's no reason they can't land in Nashville. They're right. The best city in the country right now. There's no reason they can't land 2 of the top 5 best players in the country.
Yeah.
And then instantly you're there. You're done. That's it. Like, that's the way basketball works.
They had 2 all-SEC guys on their basketball team last year and still weren't very good. But they showed out towards the end of the season.
NIL can change things.
It can change it very, very quickly. All right, moving forward, let's talk about...
Hang on. Do you think the new head coach came from Notre Dame?
Clark Lee.
Do you think he knew this was happening when he took the job?
100%.
Okay.
I don't think he takes the job.
I don't think...
Maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't think he took the job.
Either one of 2 things happened. He either knew it happened or
he pushed
when he
for it.
got there, he said, this has to happen, this has to happen, this has to happen, or we can't win.
I'm willing to bet that was said in the interview. I'm
You're
willing
probably
to bet
right.
he said it to them. If you want to be successful, if you want me to come here.
Because he was up there.
This
Now,
is what has
Notre
happened.
Dame's not in Big Ten, even though it's Big Ten country. But they're closely aligned to Northwestern.
Yeah.
And he sees there's a school just up here.
That's very similar.
High academics, big-time football programs all around them, and they are
in a big city.
In a monster city, and they are competing with every school out here. So...
And we can do this at
We can
Vanderbilt,
do this.
but-
It's just gonna take. I need the same playbook Pat's got.
Yeah,
you need to go up there and you need to see what Pat's place looks like because it's amazing.
Yeah, there has to be commitment from the bigwigs.
That's right.
On campus.
I think that's interesting. Now I will tell you one side note. This isn't a college baseball podcast. Nobody has one, but anyway, Vanderbilt is the best team in the world in baseball.
Oh yeah,
right now.
But
they've got 2 pitchers that would be, I believe, this isn't a lot of hyperbole. It's a little hyperbole. They might be 20-game winners in the MLB right now this year if they could start on leagues. They
go 1-2 in the draft.
They will go 1-2 in the draft.
That's insane.
They are that good.
Is it that surprising that Vanderbilt is good at baseball?
No.
I think it makes perfect sense that they would be good at baseball. I don't even know that they would need facilities upgrades or anything.
Well, they don't. They're always good at baseball.
Yeah, always been good at baseball. Chad Morris, former Auburn offensive coordinator this past year, only for a year, and former Arkansas head coach, said, I'll go through the whole thing. He is back out of the college game and back into the Texas high school football game. He is your new Allen, Texas high school head coach. He started as an assistant about a decade ago or so. He was a high school football coach in Texas, ran a really interesting style of offense, very different, spread-oriented, all that good stuff. Started as an assistant at Tulsa, then became Clemson's OC, and his popularity, his stock just skyrocketed. And he took SMU's head coaching job. He then turned that into the Arkansas head coaching job. He was only there for 2 years. He goes with his buddy Gus, who was also a high school head coach. Took over as the OC at Auburn. Not a great season, and now he is back out of the college game. This is an interesting career path. It's very roller coaster-ish. Does this say anything about high school coaches that make the jump? Because we have seen plenty. The guy over at UNLV, the guy at Louisiana Monroe, like these guys that come out of high school, go to college coaching jobs, and then are back into college or back into high school again. Is this just a solo kind of thing, or is there a bigger storyline to be said about high school coaches that making that jump is maybe a little too big?
Well,
I think Morris was fairly successful to start, but I think it has to be solo, right?
No, I don't think there's a correlation.
That's what I was asking.
How many high school football coaches are there?
There's billions.
Okay,
yeah, it's
all
a
right.
ton. Yeah.
And then we've got 130 D1 jobs. Okay? Some are going to come up and be very successful and stay there forever. Gus Malzahn is one of them.
Yep.
Okay? And then some are going to come up and not make it and go back down. I don't think you can make a like memorandum on anything about this sport based on Chad Morris's trajectory of his job.
I found it very interesting that Chad Morris was heading back to high school.
He needed a job. Nobody offered him a job.
Which is kind of nuts, right?
No, I don't think it's nuts. I don't think his offenses are very good.
Well, and part of that, I think...
And I don't think he was ever able to develop... I don't think players got better under him. I think when he took over elite talent, he did fine with them. But I don't know that anybody ever got better under Chad Morris's system.
So maybe he wasn't able to develop, but a lot of that is also that maybe he was not able to adapt once he got out of high school. And part of the thing with high school football is once you kind of have a program built, it kind of feeds upon itself, right?
Yes.
So if you don't get a guy at the right time when he's still learning and adapting.
If you're in a football school, by the time you get to high school, you know what kids are going to be stars and who are not. And that it's kind of a revolving door.
It's very interesting. Very interesting, I thought. We'll move on from there. Speaking of Clemson, Clemson's backup quarterback, Taysom Fomachan, probably butchered that, but he tore his Achilles in spring practice last week in a spring scrimmage. Now, DJ Uiagalelei is the starting quarterback for this coming season, but this guy's been on the roster for a couple of years. He was expected to be, the fallback option, whatever. The backups as of now are redshirt freshman Hunter Helms, who was a 3-star, Bubba Chandler, 3-star freshman, Will Taylor, a 3-star freshman. They have not had time to develop these guys. This guy was the one that had been developed. They felt good about him in the backup role. My question to you, Chris. Dabo has always been against transfers, bringing in transfers, having guys transfer, all that kind of stuff. He's talked about it openly over and over. They like to develop kids. At this point, the guy that you have developed as the backup, if he's no longer available, does Dabo have to dip into the transfer portal for depth at the position?
No, I don't, because I don't think you're worried about depth at the quarterback position.
You don't think so?
No.
I mean, say they don't have DJ last year.
They would have lost one game. It's a game they lost already. Instead
of it being
they lost
really the game
close.
to Notre Dame, but remember the Boston College game. If he didn't make a couple of those throws late,
they would have lost. So they'd have lost 2 games.
2 games, which takes them out of the playoff.
Yes, it would have hurt. It would have hurt. But if you're a man of principle, like Dabo says he is, then you got to stand by your word, right?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Now, I mean, if he turns out to be he's just a damn liar, which wouldn't surprise me at all. My expectations pretty low for that man. Then he'll go in the transfer portal.
I'm very curious to see what's going to happen here. Curious.
It's always fun to watch somebody who finger wags all the time have to step into the pool of hypocrisy.
Yes,
that's always fun.
I'm curious. Because I have. It's been a little
I'm just
bit
waiting
refreshing.
on the NIL to come through and to see, is he really a man of his word? Because he has stated multiple times, very publicly, very proud, and very openly, if players get paid, I will quit. Those are his words. There's no mincing them. There's no taking them out of context. If we begin to pay players, I will quit. Now, I have an opinion about that, is I think he has a really good under-the-table way of paying guys that other people don't have, which is why he gets the talent that he gets, which is fine. I want these kids to make something. But when it comes above board, I don't know how many big-time mega boosters Clemson has to support the NIL. I don't know how many local businesses around Clemson, South Carolina, that will support them. I'm going to tell you this. They don't got a Darius Ruckers.
No,
but
you're 100%
the
right
school
about
down
that.
the road from them do. And that's going to hurt.
No, you're very right about that. This will be one to keep an eye on. So keep your eye on Clemson and whether or not they dip their toe into the transfer portal.
I do not expect him to be a hypocrite. I expect him to be a man of his word and not dip into the portal.
Well, we will see. We will see. It could cost them a chance at a championship if they're not prepared.
Well, I don't think they're good enough to win a championship anyway.
I think you might be right about that. But neither here nor there. Moving on, NFL draft prep. Let's talk just a touch about this. I know Chris has opinions on it. I don't know that I do. It's why I put it in the form of a question.
Okay.
How much stock do we put into quarterback pro days? After seeing all the discussion around Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Mac Jones pro days the last couple of weeks, what should we make of what we see when the guys are playing in shorts and T-shirts as opposed to what we've actually seen on the field?
Nothing. All pro days are scripted. 100% scripted. The scripted practices, the scripted routes.
Should we take anything away from them if they do not look as good during the pro day?
So I will tell you this.
I
actually do. I wouldn't take too much. I wouldn't take a lot of away because I do think some players, they're trying to follow a script, and if they're not used to that, they're more worried about the script than just playing ball.
Right.
Okay. And so I could see them screwing up, but it tells me as a coach, their intellect's not as high as we think it is. Okay.
Okay.
So that's something I would take into effect. If you do badly on a pro day, I would take that into effect because you have all the answers to the test. You're going to practice the test over and over and over again. You actually get to create the test. You get to tell them what routes you're going to run, and you know a month in advance.
Yeah.
Several months in advance to prepare and to practice the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. If you can't look great doing that, then you're not a pro player. You're just not. So if you fall in love with the player because of their pro day, you're a fool. You're an idiot.
If you fall out of love with a player because of their pro day,
I don't
more understandable.
No, it's more understandable than falling in love, but I don't understand. There are certain things that, you could say somebody just had a bad day.
At the end of the day,
I don't know that anybody's ever had a bad pro day and been a good player.
Okay.
But lots of players have had great pro days and been terrible players.
That's what I was going to say. The one thing that does not lie is game tape.
Game film. We already have seen everything we need to know. What I want to know in the pro days or in the combine, not necessarily I don't care about pro days or not, but we didn't have a combine, so you have to trust the pro days. I want to know your real measurables. I want to actually put a measuring tape on you in socks. I want to know how tall you are. I care more about watching the GPS that they have, the GPS
like the speed
trackers.
doesn't necessarily matter to the combine anymore.
I want to watch game film with you having the GPS tracker on you, and I want to see how fast you play. But that's all information I can find through tape.
Right.
Okay. There are certain things that I want to know that I'm not going to know. Okay. I want to, if you play for a juggernaut school, I want to know how well you do as a quarterback under pressure. Okay. I can't simulate that. All right.
Yeah.
Mac Jones had the best analytics as a quarterback under pressure. He was only pressured like 4 times the whole year. Okay. That doesn't count. So we can throw all that out because he did well those 4 times. But I can't simulate that. They're not going to let me drive a car at him and then see if he can outrun it and make a throw. Okay. But these are things I want to do. I want to put a Kia on the 1-yard line, and I want to have him simulate a snap and see, can he push the Kia across the goal line? Just put it neutral, and can he throw his shoulder into it and move it far enough to get the touchdown? Because that's what he's actually going to be paid to do. These are things that I would like. They're not going to let me put any stress on these guys.
Right.
If I could run the combine, I'd be selling sponsorships to a car manufacturer, though.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah. Kia did it with the NBA.
Or a motorcycle. We're going to be blitzing. I'm just going to put guys on mopeds just driving at you all over the place. I need you to move out of the way and still make the throw. And if you get clipped,
that's on you.
If you can't dodge this, you can't dodge Miles.
That's
because he's got arms.
That's like dodgeball, right?
Yeah, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. If you can't dodge a wrench, you probably can't dodge the ball.
Can't dodge the ball. My gosh.
So that's I listen. Don't fall in love with the quarterback. I'm a Pats fan. I'm on every Pats blog. After Trey Lance's pro day, every Patriots fan lost their mind about how unbelievable. Trade every draft pick we've got and just sell out and move up to the first pick and just take Trey Lance. He might be great, but it won't be because of his pro day.
What you should have sent them was the link to the game against Central Arkansas from back in October, where he did not look that great. They won the game.
That's right.
But this is
the problem with pro days is everybody looks their best. Everybody, it's the first date where everybody's trying so hard to win your heart. Listen, call me in 6 months and tell me how the relationship's going.
Yeah.
Because that's the real them.
I love it. I knew you'd give me some good answers on that because I was torn on it. I was torn.
Do you believe in pro days at all?
No, not at all. I was torn in.
I just assume they're all lies. Everything I'm seeing here is a lie.
I think that the good and the bad, I don't think any of it necessarily matters. I think what matters is game film.
I liked watching Mac Jones overthrow 2 passes really badly, by the way, in his
Bill Belichick
in his pro day and seeing Kyle Shanahan and Bill Belichick being like, the guy knows what throws he's gonna. Nobody's covering the son of a bitch. He still overthrew him by 10 yards. I think that's funny. That doesn't mean he's gonna be a bad quarterback in the NFL.
Exactly.
That's as much as I want his failure to happen. That's irrelevant to his success or failure. Is he had 2 awful throws in a pro day. Well, all the rest of it looked great. Well, it should all look perfect because he had 3 stinking months to prepare for the damn thing.
Yeah.
So
that was his second pro day. But that's the thing. At the end of the day, I don't know that any of it matters.
Doesn't.
I don't think it matters that Kyle Shanahan was at one pro day and wasn't at Justin Fields.
I think that matters.
Maybe.
Indeed. I do think that matters. But anyway.
Neither way.
It might not. It might not. I have an opinion on that. That's an NFL show. That's an NFL topic. We'll move on.
We might need to get Donnie and Kyle on next week.
One
or the other.
I don't know that Donnie and Kyle care about my opinions.
No. I agreed, but we are prepping for the
NFL
draft. Of course, there's a lot of college football that goes into the NFL draft.
Well, there's more college football that goes into it.
Exactly. It's all college football that goes into it, really. But yeah, we might have to have them on the show leading up to it. So we'll figure that out as we go along. Let's move on, and I gotta bring up a name that you might recognize.
Okay.
Randy Shannon.
I like Randy Shannon.
Hired on Monday.
His stats are not great as a DC.
No. They were at one point.
Yes.
To the point that he got the Miami, Florida head coaching job.
But that was a long time ago.
That was a very long time ago.
It was a very long time ago. And I liked him at Miami, even though he wasn't very good there either. He hasn't been good at several stops along the way, but I've always found, I don't know why I like him.
He's a likable guy.
Well, I liked UCF, and I wanted him to be good there. I wanted that to work.
But that UCF defense was not good, though.
Not good at all.
Not good. Randy Shannon.
Back.
Former Miami Hurricanes head coach. Former Florida defensive coordinator. Former UCF defensive coordinator. Now has been hired as a defensive analyst at Florida State. He has made the rounds. All of the biggest schools in the state. He has now been a coach at all of them. I think that makes sense because he knows the area pretty well.
Yeah.
And to go from head coach to DC at a head coach DC to P5 level, DC G5 level, now to defensive analyst at P5 level.
He's just kind of notching his way down. At some point in time, we're just going to make him a recruiting coordinator, and we don't really need his defensive abilities.
So the question, of course, did Tennessee and Josh Heupel, who he just worked for, did they not even want him as an analyst at Tennessee?
I don't know that he would have taken that job. I think he likes being in Florida. We see the jobs that he has taken and jobs he hasn't. He's gone down levels constantly to stay in Florida.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense.
So that makes more sense than anything else. But if he wasn't great as your coordinator, asking him to come work for you somewhere else, but giving him a demotion would be really hard.
Yeah, I think
if I was your boss and you were my assistant manager, and then I asked you to come on as like a shift supervisor somewhere else with me, like that would be an awkward relationship. But going to another job and taking the step down is always easier.
That makes sense.
I like Randy Shannon. His defenses, I don't think they're very good because there's no doubt they had talent at UCF.
Oh, yes.
I just don't think he's a very good defensive mind. I like him. I think his defenses were good. I think offenses
He can get
changed.
players.
I think offenses has changed a lot. I think he has not evolved with the game to play defense to slow them down.
But he can recruit.
Yeah, but if you can recruit, but you can't do anything with them, eventually those kids are going to say, I don't look good on your game film. It doesn't help me to get into the NFL to come play for you if I'm giving up 60.
That's a valid point.
I need you to put me in better situations. The game of football has changed to a bend but don't break. If you're still trying to protect yards, you're losing. No. You're losing that battle.
Protect the end zone.
You protect the end zone 100%. You will take field goal after field goal after field goal and allow the team to score the entire game and be happy with it.
Just so long as your offense can score on the other side. And
because,
if your offense can't
that's
score,
where the game is going. That's not just going. It's going there.
Oh, it's already there.
We've been there for the last 5 years.
Yeah, it has. I mean, we have had a seismic shift since 2014, 2015, somewhere around there.
So
completely
defense,
different.
I do feel it for defensive coordinators because they get massively criticized, and I think that's a tough thing. I think their job is harder than any job on the football field now.
Yes.
I think the offense has so many benefits. I think there are so many offensive minds that go into putting together a game film. There's not you just can't have a collaboration of 9 experts.
The way that the rules
to put together a defense.
Yeah, the way that the rules are written right now, defense on its base level is always reactive.
Reactive. Yeah, that's right.
That's the only thing that you can really do with it. And when there are so many different options you got the whole field to work with on offense. On defense, with only 11 guys, you can't cover the whole field. It's impossible. And the scheming and whatnot to get guys open now, it's not just that players are more athletic or anything like that. It's that they are used in vastly different ways than they used to.
What has changed offenses to make it almost to a point where there are plays that are unguardable, which are the pick plays.
Oh, yes.
When you're within 3 yards of the line of scrimmage and you're allowed to pick, and these guys, if you give them 3 yards of coverage because somebody picked them and they're wide open now, all of these guys have breakaway speed to where some that are taking those to the house, but the slowest receiver at major college football is taking that for 15 to 20 yards.
Yeah. The other side, the RPO stuff where technically linemen aren't supposed to be more than 3 yards down the field. Well, they don't call it. And smart coaches use it to their advantage. If it's not going to be called, if you're a linebacker or you're a safety, you can't read that position anymore. You can't read the offensive lineman to see where they are to know what's coming.
What I wish they would do is to help defensives have any kind of. And now we've turned the show into a strategy show. is basically give the offensive lineman 5 yards.
Yeah,
but call it after 5.
Yeah,
this is one of those things where I always thought 3 yards was ridiculous because when I played football, I got blocked by guys that were going to go play D1 ball, and I was not. And they pushed me well beyond 3 to 5 yards before dropping me to the ground. And I remember them getting called for offensive linemen downfield, and they were downfield carrying me.
Yeah, they were blocking.
I got a good thing happen to our team because I got railroaded. And that's you can't punish a guy for just destroying another guy. That's his job. He destroyed me. That was his job, was to destroy me, and he did it well. And
but he went too far down the field.
But he's now 5 yards downfield, and that's a penalty. No, you can't. Give them more room to breathe, and then but we're going to call it though. We're going to absolutely call it.
Yeah, if you're caught running down the field to go down there and make a block,
that helps with the RPOs. But giving them this 2 yards absolutely makes those RPOs ridiculous, and the offense is going to have a lot of fun with that. But if you get, 1 inch over that 5 yard line, gone. You're backing up, and we're taking it away.
I like it,
and I do want them to get the rub plays out. I do.
Yeah, I mean it's not fair.
My team benefits from it just as much as the other team every time you're watching the game.
Everybody benefits. It adds to scoring, which I think is what they want.
But man, it makes
it's impossible to defend.
It's impossible to defend.
Yeah.
If you ever need a first down, I don't know why every team just doesn't have 5 rub plays to where if you ever need a first down in 3 to 5 yards, you don't just run one of those. I can tell you we're going to run it. You can't guard it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
We've changed the total subject.
It is all good. We're about to change the subject again.
Bam.
The college basketball Final Four had 4 teams west of the Mississippi for the first time ever. Do you think it could possibly happen in college football?
Well,
in the 14 playoff?
No, I don't, because I don't think for that would mean the ACC is completely left out, and that would mean most of the Big Ten's left out. Not all the Big Ten, not all the Big Ten, but most of the Big Ten.
In the SEC, there's only a handful.
Yeah, I mean LSU's west of it.
Yep.
Texas A&M's west of it. Missouri's west of it.
Tom Fornelli, CBSSports.com, he had an idea of 4 CFP teams if it were to happen this coming season.
Okay.
This is what he thinks that it would look like. He said
one of them is going to be Texas, and I'm going to laugh because that's ridiculous.
There's only 55 out of 130 FBS teams that are actually west, right? And then there's the whole Mountain West and everything else, right? His rankings were number 1, Oklahoma. I think that makes sense.
I'll give you that. Oh, they won't have Texas probably.
Number 2, Texas A&M.
A&M though. That I knew that was going to be the answer.
Number 3, Oregon.
Okay.
That's feasible.
All 3 of these I almost can agree with.
Number 4, Iowa. Now, Iowa's right there.
Yeah, but it is on the west side.
It is on the west side.
Iowa or Wisconsin would be west.
I think Wisconsin's
west of the Mississippi. Oh man, now my geographical.
And now it comes out. Yeah, I think it is west. So if I were to rank them, I thought I looked at this thing and tell me if they are west, because I might have to add them to this list. Here's a list of the top 10 teams.
They are not. They are east.
They are east. Okay. All right. Now mine for this coming season would definitely be similar. I'm looking at a top 10 list of ones that would be least surprising on a year-to-year basis. Teams that we have higher expectations of, right? Basically, which teams west of the Mississippi do I think could make the playoff repeatedly?
Oregon, USC.
So here's my list. It's number 1, Oklahoma. Number 2, LSU. Number 3, Oregon. Number 4, Texas A&M. 5, I put Texas here. 6, USC. Because neither one of those would surprise me if they made it, because I feel like it's all a TV show.
I actually think they're all those teams except for Texas and LSU. I think all those teams, those other 2 teams, are on the cusp of kind of being there.
Yeah. This
year, and they've been in the conversations the last couple of years.
Now these towards the end, it's a once in a blue moon kind of thing, right? Number 7, Washington. Now they've already been in the playoff, but they could certainly make it again. Now we don't know what to expect of Jimmy Lake.
I need to see this coach prove that he can make it.
Yeah,
But
the program in and of itself actually supports football to a point that they could make it.
I would almost think Boise State has a better shot than Washington.
You think, even though Washington just made it like 4 years ago?
Yes, under Chris Peterson, a coach that I think is one of the best coaches to ever coach college football.
Who is now?
Now we got a guy that we don't know his name.
Jimmy Lake.
Okay.
Number 8, I've got Iowa State, and that's prefaced by so long as Matt Campbell.
I was just about to say, if
they could make it this year.
You're talking about an all-star coach, which is the Washington situation. That doesn't mean that school can do it year in, year out. That means that coach can.
Well, I think so. Washington in the past has won a national championship. They've done they can support that football program.
Okay.
They put more into football resources than a lot of schools.
That's right. That's
why I believe they do.
And what has that gotten them in the last 40 years?
1 playoff appearance, 1 national championship, like however many Pac-12 titles. Like it's been good. It's not been USC.
Over 40 years, it's not.
No.
It's not on the level of most others to where I would say North Carolina has a better shot at making a playoff than Washington.
Yes, but we're talking about west of the Mississippi.
But I understand that. But I would never put North Carolina in a conversation to actually try to make our play for the national title.
So I said Iowa State.
Okay.
Number 9, I've got Iowa.
I would keep them in there.
I think I would keep them.
I actually think if Ferentz ever left, I kind of just think I know that goes
against like Wisconsin.
That goes against everything I believe about how college football is played. I kind of think they would just keep on running.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, it depends on who they bring in.
Yes, but to an extent.
But
yes.
that the culture.
That's
not
Washington. There. Chris Peterson. Yeah. I think Chris Peterson was an anomaly. I think he was a genius.
That's entirely possible.
I don't think whoever the hell's there now
Jimmy Lake.
Jimmy Lake is a genius. I think he could be a rum dum. I don't know.
He was Peterson's defensive coordinator.
Congratulations.
So, I don't know. At number 10 on my list is Arizona State. Now, I don't know how much of that is Herm Edwards' bias.
Well, I told you this year the reason Oregon's not going to make it
is because Arizona State's going to
win the Pac-12. And the reason this year USC's not going to make it.
Because Arizona State's going to win the Pac-12.
Because Arizona State's going to win the Pac-12. I don't think they're going to go undefeated. I don't think they're going to go undefeated and make the playoffs. But Arizona State's winning the Pac-12 this year. So it's going to be really hard for one of those other teams to make the playoffs when they can't win the conference.
Let's talk FCS football.
I would love for Arizona State to become a football powerhouse.
It would be fun, and it is possible.
If NIL comes through, you don't think Arizona State could land some big fish?
It's entirely
You don't think they can land some ponies?
Oh, 100%. It's not hard to sell. It's not hard to sell at all. Moving on, FCS Week 7 notes. Let's talk about a little bit of recap stuff, and I'm going to give you some numbers.
Come on.
Are you ready?
I like numbers. Go ahead.
Underdogs last week went 17-9 against the spread. They won 13 games outright, and 4 teams won outright as 10-plus point underdogs. It happens every week.
We're no longer past like an anomaly or a habit. I mean, this is gospel.
Yes, underdogs cover like you can almost, if you just bet every game, you're going to come out ahead. Like it's
not
insane.
a little ahead. I'm going to bet if we go back and relook at all the numbers, I'm going to bet it might be 70%.
So I will have that at the end of the season once we get to the playoffs and whatnot, and I'll have that information.
Because it seems like every week it's not just a little. It's not just like 12 and 9 or 12 and 10. Like it's not 3 or 4 games separating them. No, it's like 7 or 8 games separating them. 17-9
against the spread, 13 outright wins.
That's insane.
13 outright wins by underdogs.
10-point dogs.
Yeah, 4 10-plus point dogs.
Those money lines paid out some juice.
You better believe that.
College basketball is killing me because I was betting a lot of FBS.
Or FCS?
FCS.
Yeah.
Before the tournament. And then I stopped and I jumped on the tournament train.
Should have kept riding.
I know.
Should have kept riding them FCS underdogs.
I can't bet on something I'm not going to watch.
2 5-0 teams, Murray State and VMI, were beaten by unranked teams. Alston P beat Murray State 34-31. ETSU, East Tennessee State, beat VMI 24-20. We had 3 ranked teams, Furman, Idaho, and Nicholls, that all fell to unranked teams this weekend. You remember, it was just a week ago that Nicholls scored like 70 points on I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah, they beat a team that scored 40 by almost 40.
Yep.
I remember that.
75-45.
God, so
Mercer beat Furman 26-14. Idaho State beat Idaho 24-22. And McNeese, with your boy Cody Orgeron, beat up on Nicholls 43-31. Pretty crazy.
They put in the points.
You got that right. Nicholls, man, it's just a crapshoot every week. Like, I have no idea what to expect from this team.
This is seriously like, what did they have for dinner before the game?
Basically.
What did they not? Like, whose girlfriend is upset with them and who's not? Like,
what I'm curious about is, like, how much does the pandemic play into this, right? Because North Dakota State and South Dakota State was postponed this past week. That was a massive game. Postponed until April 17th.
That's the one I was actually paying attention for over the weekend during basketball.
So it was postponed for 2 weeks down the line due to positive COVID-19 test results and subsequent contact tracing in North Dakota State's Tier 1 personnel. Now, I don't know exactly what that means.
Hang on. Didn't North Dakota State get the COVID? Who was it that got the COVID that ran from no, it wasn't.
It was North Dakota.
It was North Dakota, not North Dakota State.
That ran from Missouri State.
That ran from
Bobby Petrino.
Bobby.
Yeah. So what I'm curious about, though, is North Dakota State is still planning on playing against Northern Iowa this week. If you just had positive tests in the contact tracing and all that.
They want to get got by them jackrabbits.
But they have to play them in 2 weeks. How many people are going to be, and we'll talk about this in just a little bit, but like, how many kids are going to be out? Who's actually going to play? Is that something that we're missing every week? Because it's hard to find information on the FCS.
Yeah, this is not big-time college football. Nobody's covering these teams to a point where we know
who's out and
who's out and who's not. And yeah, that could have a lot to do with the fluctuation of
all the scores and what, like Nicholls.
I know this is going to come across as bad. I feel like we both got the COVID shot. Like, a lot of people got the COVID shot.
Yeah.
And these college kids aren't getting sick from. Can we just, like, stop testing them?
Stop
and
testing.
Get to see. Let these kids play.
Who was it? Was it Baylor's?
I know that's going to.
Baylor's
That's
women's
not. Yes, it's
basketball
Baylor's
coach that said that.
Yeah, she was like, just quit testing.
I don't
Which
know.
I'm going to tell you.
I don't know.
You know,
I
I don't. I just assume everybody's always lying all the time. I'm quite certain that after VCU got kicked out for COVID, like, they all took a test, but I don't think those tests found their way to the lab. I think one guy that they know doesn't have COVID sits in a closet and just spits in tubes and just fills up all the vials. I'm telling you, if I ran a business that was worth this much money, there's no way I would let my product take its chance on a guy getting a disease that doesn't affect him, that we have to give him a test to see if he has it. I know that's wrong. I know everything about that is morally wrong. I'm telling you, I do not care. I'm not going to let COVID take it down. He's going to you're going to spit in the tube. And then between here and the lab, somebody's pulling the old switcheroo.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if we do have some tests that come back positive, I'll know it's complete crap.
Well, yeah, I know it's fake because I know the same guy spitting all of them.
Y'all feel free to jump in the comments if you would like. By the way, you can also reach us on Twitter.
NCAA, I know I've said some horrible things about you. If you would like a consultant on how to fix the COVID problem to where you can actually get your product to market better, I'll take your money. I know it's blood money and I don't like you, but I'll take it.
You can reach him at Chris B. Giannini on Twitter. I'm at Gary WCE, and I will tell you how to reach him if you.
I'm not a COVID denier. I got the vaccine. It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm just
Davidson.
a businessman.
Let's roll through these.
Let's keep going.
We have already gone an
Holy
hour.
Cow.
Davidson got closer to their first ever playoff bid in the Pioneer Football League. Now check this out. They beat the San Diego Toreros 31-25, and the reason why that is important, San Diego had a 39-game league winning streak. That is pretty nuts.
Holy cow.
Yeah, 39 games in conference. It's tied Duquesne's FCS record from 1999 through 2006 in the MAAC. That is insane. That is insane. 7 of the 11 auto bid conferences are still up for grabs with 2 weeks left to play. All of these are dreaming of multiple bids. Let's do a quick run through because the playoffs are in 2 weeks. I don't know if you've paid attention to that, but we are swiftly reaching the finish line. The Big Sky, we got Weber State 4-0 and Eastern Washington 4-1. They don't play each other, but win percentage decides the champion. The Big South, their auto bid will be between Kennesaw State, who is 4-0, and Monmouth 2-0. They play this week. CAA, Delaware, James Madison, Richmond, Rhode Island, and Villanova all in contention.
Yeah,
with 2 weeks to play.
I know all those schools.
The MVC.
Hey, I know we're long.
It's all good.
Do you know what a torero is?
Have no idea.
It's a bullfighter.
It's a bullfighter.
That's
what I'm talking
That's actually a really cool mascot.
I can get down with that.
All right. Sorry, I had to look it up. This is one mascot we ran into that we had to talk about.
I like that. The Toreros. MVC, Missouri Valley, Missouri State, North Dakota State, and South Dakota State, all still in contention. The OVC, the Ohio Valley.
That's the best conference in this state.
Yeah, that's basically the SEC or the Big Ten or whatever.
That's the big boys.
The Ohio Valley is Jacksonville State, Murray State. They played this week. The winner of that is going to be the champion. The Southern Conference, ETSU is 4-1, VMI is 5-1. ETSU just beat VMI, but they still have to play at Mercer Saturday, who owns a 3-game winning streak. VMI has to play Citadel, and after this weekend, we will have that one figured out. So, Southland, Sam Houston State, and then there's a log jam of Incarnate Word, Nicholls, and Southeast Louisiana. I think Sam Houston's got that covered. They're still undefeated, and they've kind of beaten the mess out of everybody.
Everybody else has cannibalized one another.
You got it. Albany, UT Chattanooga, who is actually having a pretty good season.
Yep.
Cal Poly and Illinois State have all opted out of the remainder of their schedules.
Oh, come on.
Which sucks.
You made it this far. What are you walking away down for?
Well, remember, they all still have to play a fall season.
Okay.
Just saying.
You think it's costing them money? You think it's just hard?
Some of these it's costing money because of all the tests that you have to do and all that kind of stuff. The other side is...
This is why they need to call me.
All of these that were left, like the ones that opted out, they weren't going to get to the playoffs anyway. So
I get that you're not going to make it to the playoffs, but why are we quitting halfway through this thing?
Well, I will say this. A lot of these have actually played more games than some of the teams that are up for playoff contention.
True.
For example, Monmouth, who we're about to talk to in our preview, is 2-0, and they are playing for a championship this weekend. God. 2-0. 2-0. All right, let's move to the preview. Let's roll through this rather quickly if we can. And sometimes I don't know if we can or not, but, we're going to try. We're going to try. Start off with the number 7 Kennesaw State Owls sitting at 4-0. They are playing at number 20, the Monmouth Hawks, who are sitting at 2-0 on the season. It is Saturday, April 10th, 1 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN+. The analytics have Monmouth favored to win this game over a top 10 team.
Wow, that shocks me.
31-28. So the analytics have it around 2.6 points, somewhere around there. Big South Conference, of course. Kennesaw State, number 12 in the country in rushing yards. They are number 6 in total defense. Monmouth, however, is number 4 in rushing defense, number 4 in points per game on offense. Monmouth, surprisingly, even with only 2 games, appears to have a bit of an edge, but how much of that is the fact that they've only played 2 games? There's not enough film on them, which could help against Kennesaw State, or it might hurt because they haven't had enough experience. Let's say the line is at 3, in favor of Monmouth. Would you go Kennesaw?
Yeah.
I think I would.
Yeah, I would too. I think Monmouth is a good team. I can't trust a 2-game stretch, and I've seen these teams have ebbs and flows. I'm gonna take Kennesaw. I'm gonna take a more proven football team.
Yeah. I mean, over the years, Kennesaw has proven to be a really, really good team, especially with that triple option, difficult to defend, all that kind of stuff. And this is a big-time game. Kennesaw has been there before. I don't know that Monmouth has as much. We will move on from there, and let's talk about the OVC championship game. And, man, Jacksonville State, the Gamecocks, number 10, at the Murray State Racers, who are number 17. Both teams 5-1. Murray State just took their first loss last week. This game is 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday.
This is at Jacksonville or at Murray?
This is at Murray.
Okay.
It's at Murray. It's Sunday, April 11th, 3 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN+. The analytics have Jacksonville State favored 24-21. Basically, the line around 2.5.
Yeah.
If it's in favor of Jacksonville State, 2.5. Murray State is number 62 in total offense, number 38 in total defense. Jacksonville State is number 30 in total offense and number 12 in total defense. If there were a talent indicator, Jacksonville State would be way up there.
Yes.
I would definitely take Jacksonville State in this spot.
Yeah, I would too. But the reason I asked the question was because if it was in Jacksonville State, I'm absolutely taking the favorite. I'm very hesitant to take favorites right now, but I still think I would take this one.
Yeah, I think Jacksonville State's just a better team. Like Murray State across the board, every statistic is just average. I think their record is more a case of who they've played. Jacksonville State has played tougher competition.
Probably.
So we will move on from there, and hey, why don't we talk about the number 2 North Dakota State Bison, who are sitting at 4-1. Against the number 24 Northern Iowa Panthers, who are 3-3. They are out of contention. They're still a top 25 team. It's Saturday, April 10th. It is 5 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN+. A lot of these ESPN Plus games. North Dakota State favored by 3.5. They're expected to win 17-14 or somewhere roundabout. Is North Dakota State actually going to play the game? I have no idea. They had to cancel last week against South Dakota State.
Well, if they're not going to play the game, then it doesn't matter which side you pick.
Agreed, but that's what I'm trying to figure out, because they are planning, as of right now, to play the game.
Well, yeah, but it's Monday. It's a long way away.
I'm a little shocked. If they're missing a bunch of dudes, does it matter who's out, or can they still beat Northern Iowa?
I think it matters who's out.
I mean, I definitely think it does.
I don't think any of these teams are so good that, they can go 3 deep and not get got.
It's very interesting. I don't know what to make of that. I can't even make a pick.
Well, you can't because we don't have enough information.
Yeah.
The whole purpose of giving a pick is giving these people information. We just don't have it here.
Yeah. Analytically, even if both teams had all their dudes, North Dakota State would still only be favored by 3.5.
Yeah, it's not a huge spread. There's a chance I'd take the dog anyway, outside of the
yeah.
fact that North Dakota State's kind of powerhouse football team.
Yeah. I mean, they moved all the way. They got that big loss out of the way early, moved all the way back up to number 2 behind James Madison. I mean, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right. Moving on from there, and we are going to talk some Big Sky Conference. And I know that you were excited about this one. The Big Sky, we've got Idaho, the Vandals, at number 9, Eastern Washington. Both teams only one loss. Idaho has 2 losses.
So I was about to say, I think Idaho's lost
I looked at it wrong.
It's okay.
But Eastern Washington, their only loss came at Idaho in the first week of the season. Do you remember that? We were talking how crazy it was. There was a field goal that was actually good that they called missed because it bounced back in from hitting the scoreboard or whatever.
The ref didn't see it.
Yeah,
they
just
don't
a
have
mess.
replay review. Yeah.
4 p.m. Eastern time. This one's on Pluto TV. It's the free TV service. You ain't even got to pay to watch this one. Pretty nice. Pretty nice. Eastern Washington, analytics favored them by 8.5, 35-27 at home. Idaho's number 27 in total defense. Eastern Washington is number 2 in total offense, number 5 in points per game. It honestly looks like Idaho just caught Eastern Washington during like a rusty first game to start a spring season. Like that's what it looks like. Eastern Washington should roll in this game. If the line is 8.5, I think they win this by 10 at least. This is a revenge game, and I think they're significantly better than Idaho.
I don't know, man. It's just underdogs have been covering so much.
Yeah.
It's hard to just go chalk down the paper.
You might be right, but I guess if it's 8.5,
I'm getting a home team more than a touchdown.
Well, this one's at Eastern Washington.
Oh,
so it's the road team.
I thought it was at Idaho. Yeah, I mean, I still think I'm getting more than a touchdown. I'm probably gonna take the dog.
Okay, that would make sense. I
I'll
mean,
probably
they did beat them in the first game of the season, so that would not be.
And even if the field goal thing doesn't work the way it should, and Eastern Washington wins the game, they're still not covering an 8.5 number.
That's true.
There's a revenge factor involved though that you brought up. That's why it's gambling.
You got that right. The Maine Black Bears. Love the Black Bears. At number 22, the Rhode Island Rams. Maine is 2-2 on the season. Rhode Island 2-1. This one is 12 p.m. Eastern time on Flow Sports. I know that's your favorite network. Rhode Island expected to win this game 31-30. Analytically, they're favored by about 0.6 points. It's the CAA. There's not one area that Maine excels in at all. They're average at everything on offense and on defense, but Rhode Island appears to be pretty average at everything as well. They're the only thing that they really excel at. They are number 24 in passing yards.
Yep.
Is that enough to be able to get them over the? I mean, they are at home.
Yeah.
Like I imagine this will probably be like a pick'em game.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to tell because they're pretty even.
Would a Ram be able to beat a Bear?
No.
Do we go Maine here?
A Bear would grab those horns and snatch that head off. OFF off.
Do we go Maine? I guess we can go Maine based on the mascot. Bears. We'll go with the Maine Bears.
It's not just because of the mascot. Listen, I watched a Maine football game at Mississippi State once.
Yes, you did. They beat up on
that is more than most people.
They beat up on Sylvester Croom.
I've seen them live.
What was the score today?
It was a
9
decade
to
ago.
6?
It was the under
really
came in.
Scoring.
I couldn't tell you what the under was, but it came in.
It had to.
Nobody cracked 20.
It
was pretty bad.
I don't know that anybody cracked like double digits. I think
there's
it was
a chance that happened. I don't remember. It was a long time ago.
Sylvester Croom, how we miss you.
He was a great man, and he did great things for that program.
Yes, he did. He did.
He gets crapped on too much.
Well, he lost to Maine, and
okay,
but I do agree with you on everything
else.
But
what went into him losing Maine is a different situation. He walked into that job where Jackie Sherrill left that place a cesspool.
And
he walked in the door and he started one by one. Get out. You can stay. Get out. You can stay. You cool. Get out. And he had no talent.
Yeah.
The first thing he did was just throw out 80% of the team.
Teams.
Just get the hell out. I don't care if you're good at football or not. Get out.
I like it.
I like Croom.
Well, of course.
He caught crap from everybody, but I enjoyed it.
Our last game.
Go ahead.
Southland Conference.
Okay.
You know who I had to roll with on this.
Yeah.
Saturday, April 10th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN+. can actually watch it on TV this Saturday. Number 23, Southeastern Louisiana Lions, who are sitting at 3-2, at number 18, Nicholls State Colonels. Of course, because every week it's something different from Nicholls. We got to talk about them.
Who do you think is going to be favored in this game?
Well, analytically, Nicholls is favored by about 6.5 points.
It's impossible to look at analytics. They beat a team by 40 and then lost
By
to another
30.
bad team by 40. How does the computer algorithm take any of that into effect?
That's a great question. I have no idea.
I don't know how to explain that to a computer.
I'm going to tell you what I do know about them, though. All right, so the computers have them winning this game 38-31. Okay?
Okay.
That's Nicholls,
That's-
38-31.
That's not going to happen. They're either going to win it by a whole lot more or
Or-
they're going to lose it by a whole lot.
Probably. Nicholls quarterback,
Fire
Lindsey
away.
Scott Jr.
All right.
is a playmaker. 17 passing touchdowns this year to only 3 interceptions.
Did they just give his full name or is this a guy with 2 first names?
No, that's his full name. Lindsey Scott Jr.
Oh, Lindsey Scott Jr. Oh, so he has 2 first names.
I have not looked to see if this is Lindsey Scott, like Georgia, that the whole, not the hobnail boot, but run, Lindsey, run.
Yeah.
I'm curious if this is Junior.
I'm always sketchy of folks with 2 first names.
Well, maybe
I know that has nothing to do with them and their parents did this to them, but
there ain't nothing sketchy about Lindsey.
I judge him for it.
17 passing touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 5 rushing touchdowns. He's got 1,423 passing yards. He is the team's leading rusher as well with 467 yards on the ground. Southeast Louisiana?
Well, yeah, if you're going to score 80 on somebody, it
Well,
takes
yeah,
a lot of yards to do that.
Yeah, you got to be able to do that. Southeast Louisiana is number 93 in total defense.
Okay.
They are number 6 in total offense and number 8 in points per game. Southeastern Louisiana is. I'm going to expect a lot of points. If the total is 70, that is still not going to be enough.
Okay.
This
I'm with you on probably betting the total.
I would take the over.
I would also just take the money line on the
Whoever
dog.
the dog is, right?
Just take the money line on the dog. But there's a world in because here's the thing. If Nicholls is winning the game, you're gonna know that you've lost that bet immediately, and you can find a new bet to kind of hedge it with.
Yeah.
All right. Because they're either gonna beat them by so much that you're gonna know you've lost your money line bet, and if they're not, you're gonna know that early too, and you can just go ahead and shop on Amazon and spend that money because it's coming.
There you go. We've only got one more week after this.
Okay, I was about to say, I
FCS.
thought you said it was the last game.
That was the last
only
one.
got one more game. is what I
Wait,
was
no.
expecting.
We've only got one more week of FCS before we get to the playoffs.
All right. I'm ready for
excited.
the playoffs.
We are going to have those full underdog numbers after the season, heading into the playoffs. We will talk about all of it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time. All of you have been absolutely terrific for paying attention for this long. If you are still watching, we certainly appreciate you for doing so. Make sure and head over to sbrpicks.com/NCAAF. That is your one-stop website that has all of your college football gambling information that you need. Go and check that out. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel and that you like this video. It's that little thumbs up button down there. It looks just like this. Go ahead and check that bad boy out. You can reach us on Twitter. I am at GaryWCE.
I'm at Chris B. Giannini.
And you can always jump into the comments as well. We would certainly appreciate that. I'm dropping everything over here. I think that means it's time for us to get out of here. So go to sportsbookreview.com. Go to sbrpicks.com/NCAAF. Is there anything else we need to hit?
No.
That is it. All right. For sportsbookreview.com, I'm Gary.
I'm Chris.
And we will see you again next week.